see thoughts race, life's a twisted place. No time to erase.
We're gonna move on to 331. 331, how's it going? Are you at least 18? And did you disagree with what I had on the board?
I'm at least 18, and yeah, I got a couple.
Okay,
I
cool.
can debate with you a little bit. I got some time.
All right, cool. What did you disagree with and why?
So we could start on the abolishing ICE topic. We have to have consequences for our actions. And I wanted to touch on that with the kid who was just talking about the abortions and stuff. If we were to hold ourselves responsible for the things that we do, then we won't have to put ourselves in those positions. How about, abstaining, for example? I know it's easier said than done, and we live in a time where everybody wants to just do what the fuck they want to do, and no one wants to be wrong, right? Everyone wants to be right, or everyone wants to feel validated in their choices. So we got to have options. I knew when I was a young man that I was totally wrong and off my rocker when I was out here smashing everything. I've actually been to the abortion clinic myself once or twice with my partners. And, I knew I was doing wrong, but instead of trying to be as worldly as I was, I should have just stuck with my upbringing and not have done all that. I would
All
have
right,
saved
cool.
myself some
So,
trouble.
all
Now,
right,
when it
cool.
comes
So,
to ICE,
so when it comes to abstaining, that's just not realistic. People are gonna have sex, bro. Like, there's nothing wrong with sex. So, like, there's nothing wrong with it. Now, we should all be careful. I agree with you there, right? We shouldn't all be just busting it wide open willy-nilly because diseases and of course pregnancy. Like, that's all good and well, but simply saying, oh, just abstain, like that's ridiculous. People are gonna have sex. So if that's going to happen,
yeah.
if that's going to happen, we should encourage safe sex practices and education. But even then, not everything is 100% guaranteed. Yeah, I mean, so like that's why these options exist. Things like birth control, things like abortion.
Yeah, of course. And I agree more so with that than the complete abstination. I only brought up the abstination because that was my upbringing, right? Now, I understand that the kids nowadays, that they're too far gone from that.
Actually, Gen Z is having less sex than we are.
Hey, I would be surprised.
Yeah, that's what the research says. They're having less sexual partners. The reason why that is because there's a big loneliness problem, not just with the men, but with the women too. We just let the young men are killing themselves more because of it, and the women are having more resources to deal with their loneliness. But there's a big loneliness problem with Gen Z.
Man, that sucks because I feel like we live in a better time. It's a better time to be outside. We have more things than ever, more entertainment options than ever, especially depending on where you live at. You have so many options, and then you got online where you can connect to people at the touch of your thumb. It just seems like so many people are so weirded out by speaking to somebody in public or talking on the phone. Like, you got to text somebody, or if you meet a girl, you got to meet her on Tinder or Bumble or something first. But if you can meet the same girl that you would end up going on a date with at the grocery store, and she gonna look at you crazy for saying something to her.
Yeah, of course. Like I understand, like the dating scene nowadays does have problems. I agree with that. But as far as abortion goes, right? What I always tell people is that these are not gonna stop. So what we need to do, instead of just making it all illegal, why don't we just put in policies or education that'll make it happen less? Because we see that abortions happen more with people who are not as educated and with people who are poor. So if we alleviate poverty and we increase our basically our quality of education, we'll see abortions go down, right? It's including access to contraceptives. We'll see abortions go down. Why don't we just do that instead of banning the entire thing?
I agree with that, but I was brought up in that way as well. Like, our schools, we had condoms. You could just walk into the health office and just grab a handful of condoms out of a fishbowl type thing. Mm-hmm. And we had health class. We was talking about education, stuff like that. And I think it still will fall on deaf ears just because it's not the popular thing to do.
Yeah, there are people who are not going to still do it, right? But we'll see that the amount of it, the amount of incidents of it will always go down. Like, I don't think anybody disagrees that actions have consequences and there should be consequences towards your actions. I don't think that's what abortion is, of avoiding the consequences, because abortion is not something that easy to do. You know what I mean? It's not an easy decision to make. Like most people who getting them are not flippant with it. Of course, you can get examples of like viral videos on Instagram and TikTok of them just saying, "Oh yeah, I'm Felitas Delitas today." You know what I mean? You'll find those. You know what I mean? But for most people, it's not something that's an easy or flippant decision. You see what I mean?
Yeah, I've been outside for a long time, and there are some seeming demons out there, and they go to the abortion clinic like it's nothing.
Yeah, I don't doubt that.
Yeah, so we know they out there. So and I know we can't use every outlier as the defense for changing the whole system, but we know that we got to give and take. There are some people that are really wild, and we just see how it goes. Maybe we shouldn't just totally get rid of it, but something has to be done about it. The girls that are just going and getting 8 abortions, that has to be unacceptable. We can't be like, just look at that and be like, all right, well, it's legal, so you got 8 abortions. You have to be like, man, something's wrong with you, and we need to get you some help.
I mean, yeah, if they're getting like 8, 9 abortions, then yeah, we should go ahead and get them some help, right? Like I think there when I say some help, we should look into what exactly is going on, because it sounds like there could be more there than it might be something that's mental. They're not mental meaning they're crazy, but mental meaning like their health is not as well as it should be. So that's why I say that these policies that I want to put in are better, because if that's the case, she can go ahead and get like therapy or psychiatric help, and if it's universal healthcare, if it's universal, they'll be able to afford to do that, or it'll be at no cost.
So how would something like that? How do you think something like that would be able to get implemented when I'm seeing things like in California, for example, nothing against LGBTQ kids and stuff like that. I know everybody needs help and everything, but if I can't send my kid to school and they can tell me, oh, well, we don't have to tell you if we call in your son Brianna. We don't have to tell you that. That's none of your business, because we're trying to keep them safe or something. How do we educate daughters and sons when it seems like we have to take such a handoff approach?
Well, I'm not even sure what you mean. If the thing is, when with those policies in California, those are only for parents who are affecting their child's mental health, right? At that point, it's better for you to not be involved if you're going to be affecting their mental health. Like, I think that's just that's just makes sense. If we know that the parents are not
in my household, I could affect your mental health.
Right, that's a problem.
If you live in my house,
that's a problem. That means that you're not a good parent.
If we say disagree on parenting.
Well, I'm saying that
on parenting.
Right. I'm saying if we like, are you really going to sit here and say that just because you're a person is a parent of that child, they can negatively affect their mental health just because they live with them? That's horrible parenting.
I'm saying your intention might not be to negatively affect them, but they can say, hey, my dad put me on punishment because I had on nail polish, and that negatively affected my mental health. Now, should the school be able to have a say in me putting my child on punishment and he's crying about it? Like all kids will cry if you put them on punishment?
No, you're going to put your child on punishment for
mental health negatively.
You're going to put the child on punishment for whatever you want.
Anything.
Right. But no. I'm not talking about anything. But you can put your child on punishment. That's all good and well. That's fine, right? But if it's something of a situation where it's part of their identity, part of who they are exploring as a person, and you're punishing them for that, that could affect their mental health. And at that point, the school is probably not going to tell you how they're letting your child express themselves. They're not going to tell you that, because then you're going to make it worse.
Does it have to? Right, but why does it have to cross that line? What if my son identifies as a gangbanger and I don't want him to? What if my gangbanger wants to identify as a fucking crackhead and I don't want her to?
Those are not gender identities.
They're identities nonetheless.
They're an identity, but they're not a gender identity. It's not something that you're inherently born with. Gender identity is something that you're inherently having within yourself. You can't just not want your kid to do that. It's part of them. That's just how it works. Like they didn't
then
wake
there
up
has
one
to be
day
a
and
process in place. Then there would have to be a legit process in place to where that happens. For example, say my son came out the room with nail polish on, and they're like, okay, there's nothing you can do about it because it's his hormones and it's a gender medical thing. You would have to go take me to the doctor, sit down and explain this shit to me scientifically before you're able to try to tell me I don't need to know what's going on with my kid at school.
yeah, that does happen. Which is why like these policies in California, all that happens before they say they're not going to tell you nothing. Because now when they do that and they see that that you're heavily against it and you're going to be affecting them to the point where their emotional and mental state declines, they're not going to tell you. Because why would they? You're going to be negatively affecting this kid.
Okay, but at this point I know.
Right. At that point, yeah, at that point, you know, which is, yeah. So they know that
you're going to school being called Brianna and shit. I already know this. So what is that going to stop?
It's not, because now they know that you're an unsupportive parent. Why would they let an unsupportive parent into something like that? That would put the kid in more danger. Why would they do that?
Well, the kid will have to move for something then. In that case, the way you're explaining it, because
which does happen.
By the time it would get to that protocol where you're saying where it could be a secret now, then the cat is out the bag at that point. So I'm not up to speed on how the protocol works. I'm just taking your word for it. It just sounds like it would be counterintuitive.
No, I mean, what I'm trying to say is that if these schools see that there's a parent who's going to negatively affect their child's mental and emotional health, yeah, they may not clue them in. They're just going to talk to the counselors, the child's doctors, their therapists, and everything like that in order to get the child help. But they're not going to clue you in on that. And as soon as that child turns 18, they're just going to leave your house and never talk to you again. That's what's going to happen.
What would be a process to think that a parent is being unsupportive? What process is there in place for that?
Okay, so they not number one, they talk to the parent, and then they bring that parent with the school counselor. They hook them up with a therapist. They tell you all exactly what's going on with your child, how they think the treatment for your child should go, how you should help them. And if you're just simply against all of it, if you said, no, my child is not transgender, I'm not going to socially transition them, I'm not going to do this, that, and the third, they're going to stay this because it's my child, and I'm never going to do anything to help them out with this issue that they're going through, they're just not going to include you because you're not supportive.
Then I would have to, if they have some sort of process in place, they should make it even more scientific. For example,
it is scientific, bro. That's what I'm saying. Great book. Like transgender, being transgender has been known within like social and medical science for like over 100 years. We knew about it back in like 1914.
Okay, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. What I'm saying is you would have to explain that to a parent.
They do, bro. A lot of people just don't accept it.
No, because explaining it versus actually having the proof is two different things.
They do have evidence, bro. There's mountains of studies on this. Hold on. Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. Wait. Hold on. Let me ask you a question. Hold on. Let me ask you a question. Let me just ask you a question.
That's all I'm saying.
Hold on. Let me ask you a question. Are you a neuroscientist?
I hear you. Am I? No, I'm not a literal scientist.
I got you. Right.
Science classes.
I got you. Like hold on. Listen. You're not a neuroscientist. I'm not a neuroscientist. So people who are neuroscientists and people who are psychiatrists, they're all saying that yes, being transgender is a real thing. It is an internal process. It's not something that you're just choosing to do. This is real, right? So if the people who are within the medical and scientific field are telling you that this is real, and you're still saying, oh, they have no proof of it, what does that show to the parent? That shows to the kid.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying you have to have proof of my kid. You have to put my kid, hook him up to the neural machine.
Right, they do that, bro. That's what I'm saying. They do that.
You would have to put my kid on the neural machine. Okay,
right? They do that. I'm saying.
I haven't seen anybody do it. I'm not in that world, so I may be very ignorant of the process. But
I'll say this. I'll say this.
Very involved parental process.
I'll say this. There is no really machines for this to do it. They take you to therapy and they talk to psychiatrists and they talk to psychologists. That's who they go to. It's a very in-depth process. It's not just one day Brian is Brianna now and the school counselor said, okay, here you go. That's not what happens. It's a very in-depth process. They go through all of it. You feel me? Like what's being put out there in the media and everything like that, they're kind of lying to you. They said that, you know, the kid just goes into the school counselor, says he's a she now, and the counselor just believes him. No, it's more than that. It's way more than that.
Okay, then it should be way more than that. Whatever it is, it needs to be a lot for me to feel comfortable with what they're trying to propose and enact.
Right. No, I definitely get that, and I think most people agree. Like it is an in-depth process. They're not just flippant with it. You know, what I mean, it's very very in depth.
Okay, now what's your problem with ICE then?
They hire rapists, and they've killed citizens, and they're breaking the constitutional laws, and they're hiring jackasses off the street, many of who are racist Nazis. So why do we need them?
Okay, to enforce the deportation, to facilitate the deportation of illegal immigrants. That's what we need them.
All right, we already had that. So
I know. So keep it going.
no,
like,
we had that
before. Like, what's you trying to say? There's another ICE or something? There was like
no,
ICE before ICE.
No, yeah, before ICE was created. ICE was created around 2002. You sound around my age, so you were alive before ICE, right?
Yeah.
Right, exactly. So people got deported back then.
Okay, so what's the? I mean, yeah. So what's the problem? They're getting deported now by ICE.
Right.
Like,
so the problem now is that they're abusing children. There's been multiple cases of sexual assault happening in ICE facilities, multiple cases of abuse of American citizens, and multiple cases of breaking of constitutional laws. That's the problem.
And I believe that illegal immigrants don't have constitutional rights.
You're wrong.
I think it's a slap in the face to. I know legally I may be wrong, but it flies and it's like a slap in the face to, I feel like, my ancestors that fought for our rights. I think it's a slap in the face for women in this country who fought for their rights to just have someone just walk across the border. I'm telling you, to have someone walk across the border illegally, don't go through the process, but just say, fuck it. I'm about to just bring my ass up here. I'm going up to Minnesota, for example, or I'm going to LA, or I'm going to Nashville, just for example, right? And they feel as if they're entitled to everything that we have worked so hard for.
That's not what illegals do, bro.
Laws that we have put in place. Well, they're breaking the law by coming into here illegally. It's
a civil infraction. It's not even a criminal offense. It's like jaywalking, bro. Like I'm not even kidding about that. Crossing over the border is like jaywalking. If you do it again, now it's a criminal offense. But like doing it the first time is basically like jaywalking. Overstaying your visa is basically like jaywalking. We don't beat people's ass for jaywalking. That's ridiculous. But the second thing that I would say is that they're not doing that. They're not coming over here and saying that they deserve anything more than you do. Like most undocumented people, I just want to live, work, and live a better life than they would have in their country, because of a lot of it is because of American foreign policy. But that's another thing to talk about. But like when it comes to undocumented immigrants, I don't see how it's a slap in the face for them to live and work the same way you do. Like how's that slap in the face? Like they get constitutional rights anyway.
Because of their, I think it's the. I wouldn't go into your house, turn on your TV, kick my feet up on your ottoman and just sit there, scratch my balls, start smacking and shit. I wouldn't do that. That's rude, because it's your house, your rules, right? And I feel like that's a level of entitlement that I don't think they should have.
Do they
work? You came here illegally.
Do they
work? You should be trying to assimilate. You should be trying to, yeah, some of them work, yeah.
Yeah, no, all of them, not all of them, but like most of them work.
No, not all of them work. Come on, we ain't gonna do the all.
No, not all of them work.
Some of them
not
work,
all,
yes.
I got you. Not all of them work, but most of them do. From the research that we can find, most undocumented work, and most of them don't commit any crimes. So they're not just walking into your house, kicking their feet up and putting their hair on their balls. That's not what they're doing.
To me, it is when you're getting Medicare, Medicaid, things that were
they don't get Medicare and Medicaid, bro.
Legal citizens. Well, in Chicago they do.
In Chicago they do. In Chicago they get Medicaid and Medicare. How do they do that without a social security number?
I'm not sure how they do it or what the process is.
They don't,
I've seen
bro.
people with driver's license that said they don't have no name given.
Right. That could happen.
I'm seeing this.
Right, that could happen because that's controlled like more on the city level. But that doesn't mean they get Medicare and Medicaid. You can't get Medicare without a Social Security. That's not possible.
Then they're working. They're doing some type of work. I don't know.
They're not getting it, bro. They're not getting it. They're not getting it. What I'm saying is that whoever told you that is lying to you. They're not getting it.
All right. Well, I'm not going to hinge my argument on that. The point being is the entitlement to what we have. Oh, we shouldn't be able to deport them or do whatever because they're like as if they're citizens now. That's not the case. And I'm not believing that someone that crossed the border illegally is an American citizen just because they're here and they deserve every protection of the Constitution. I do not believe that in my heart. I do not believe that.
I understand you don't believe that.
I would not do that to nobody else's country.
But at the end of the day, if you're in someone else's country, you're under their laws, right?
Right. And we have a law that says you can get your ass deported.
So let's listen. What is the supreme law of the land?
Hold on, what you say?
All right. So when you're in someone else's country, you're under their laws, which you agreed with. What is the supreme law of the land in America?
Correct. No, the Constitution. Come on, I got you.
Exactly. So they do get constitutional rights, just like every other citizen. You may believe they shouldn't, but at the end of the day, matter of fact, you do believe they should, because you just said that when you're in a specific country, you're in someone's laws, and the supreme law of the land is the Constitution. So you do believe they get constitutional rights.
I also believe that they have the right to be deported as well. If they're going to have constitutional rights, they have the right to be deported. As well.
No one disagrees with that. No one disagrees with that.
Under the laws of the land.
No one disagrees with that. Well, what we're disagreeing with is the process that and under which it happens. That's what we're disagreeing with. We're disagreeing.
And I'm okay with the process because you know why I'm okay with the process? Because we actually put in a sweet ass process for them. We telling them we're gonna give you $2,500. We're gonna put you on the flight.
That's not what most people are doing
back
now.
Home.
You're
going to be able to come back. No, I know. Hold on, but you'll be able to come back if you do this. So we're giving you a very sweet option, and you're not taking it. Then you're gonna have to take these hands. You're gonna get knuckled up a little bit because that's how you deter bad behavior.
No, it's not.
If I say no, son. No, son, I do not want you to do this. No. If you go to school and you act a fool, I do not want you to do that.
Hold on.
Listen to what I'm saying.
Listen to what I'm saying. Listen to what I'm saying.
You got to have consequences.
Listen to what I'm saying. Brutalizing people never has good consequences, bro. Never. When you brutalize people, all it's going to cause is for everybody else to defend those people, which is what we're seeing now.
True. That's it. That is what we're seeing. But we should, instead of defending the process, why not encourage them to take the CBP app? Why not be saying, guys, ICE is coming around here. They're terrorizing everybody. You might get killed. Your kids might get molested and holding. Something might happen. Why even take the chance? Why roll the dice? Take the $2,500, take the flight, and come back later.
Yeah,
why not do that encouragement? Why we got to go out and militarize and fight ICE?
We don't.
Why do that?
So, but the thing is, the problem is that ICE. What I'm saying is that we do encourage the right process, but the problem with the right process is that the process that we have is already awful. The process that we have to come illegally into America is shitty, and I know that because my parents are not from here. So I've helped people come over here to America, and we have one of the worst processes to come here all the time. What we should need to do is actually fix the process, not just militarize the deportation and brutalize people. Why do that? Why not fix the process?
It takes time to do all that. You're right, but you're trying to say we're going to juggle 8 balls at one time.
No, that's not what I'm saying, bro. That's not what I'm saying.
We can barely keep the government open.
That's not what I'm saying. But yeah, we can barely keep the government open because we have idiots as representatives. Right. But what I'm saying is that when it comes to the immigration process, what we can do is eliminate red tape and have a faster process and actually have more judges to process people. That's what we can do. We have more judges to process people. We can have less red tape in the situation. There are a lot more things we can do than just militarizing a police force, because once you militarize some sort of law enforcement force, what's going to happen?
Look, first off, we do that in America every day. I got so many issues.
Exactly.
our police are militarized in America. We do this to our own citizens.
Exactly.
So for who told these immigrants it was sweet up here in the first place? We got more officers, we got more jails, we got more prisons, we got
really
more
proving
people
my point,
locked
bro.
up than any other country.
You're kind of proving my point.
Whoever thought that it was I know that's what I'm trying to tell you. Whoever thought it was sweet to come up here in America and do some illegal shit, that's on them for thinking that shit.
But at the end of the day, what I'm saying is that, number one, being undocumented is simply a civil infraction. Most of the people getting deported have never committed anything violent, bro. So and the second thing that I would say is that, yeah, we do have shitty police. So abolish it, right? Just prove my point.
Yeah, I do believe we should not abolish ICE because they have a job to do, and the way that they're doing their jobs. It's okay with me because we've been doing it here to American citizens for years.
All right. I'm not okay with any of it.
To American culture.
So what I'm saying is that I'm not okay with any of it. And if that's American culture, American culture is fucked up, and we need to change it. That's what I'm saying.
Overnight.
It's not gonna happen,
and they're already here while the culture's fucked up.
It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen overnight. But that doesn't mean that we just said, screw it. You know what I mean? Our police are shitty and racist. We're just gonna have to deal with it because reasons. That's kind of ridiculous.
Well, right. And I would say I'm not going to abolish ICE because the shitty situation either.
Yeah, we should abolish it because of that shitty situation.
Over time, this is going to take out over time,
and then more people will get killed. That's ridiculous. Why would we do that when we could just go ahead and have another system?
Go the fuck home. If you know the solution, if you know that if your life might end up getting affected in that way, why not just take the easy way out? The CBP app that they're trying to give you. You know you might get killed. I know somebody might get killed. Why put yourself in that position?
All right. So the reason why people immigrate are for several reasons, usually for economic reasons, because the situation back home is terrible. So the reason why they rather risk it here in America is because they know if they go back home, they might get killed for it. So they rather risk it here in America.
Why are y'all giving pushback for the operations we're trying to do in South America? If all these people just came and said, these people walked for a month, weeks, to come here to America for better opportunity, they walked with their children, with a couple pairs of clothes. So it must be fucked up over there, right? So then we're going to say, all right, either we're going to keep bringing in asylum seekers, or we can go and fix their country for them.
All right, but that's not what we're doing.
They don't have to leave their home.
Hold on. That's not what the problem is. The problem is, no, we're not.
We're trying to.
Regime change doesn't fix anything. Regime change doesn't fix anything, bro.
When the regime was a coke lord, yeah, it was. He was hanging out with French Montana.
What evidence do we have that he was a coke lord?
I trust the CIA and the FBI.
The CIA and the FBI murdered Martin Luther King, and you trust them?
Yeah.
All right, bro.
I do.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and move on. Hey, Trill, how's it going, Trill? You there, Trill? Oh, there you go. Yeah. How's it going, man? How's it going? Yeah, I'm just enjoying the calls tonight. Hey, yo, I'm gonna go ahead and move on to 504.